Everybody, welcome to Boro Fan TV and our latest Euro 2020 review on the Monday Night Show with me, James Hutchinson. What a week it's been for English football as the Three Lions have advanced to a semi-final against Denmark this Wednesday after victories over Germany and the Ukraine. Joining me to look back on a momentous 7 days for the national team are Lee Bailey, Tony Guest and Joe Scott. Welcome, lads.
Hello, lads.
Great to see you, boys, and great to see everybody out there that's watching tonight. As well as all the England stuff, we're also going to be talking about Boro, bit of transfer activity in the past 7 days, incomings and outgoings. So let us know, Boro fans, what you think about that. We'll talk about that later in the show. Get involved, as always, with your views on tonight's Monday Night Show. Lads, Lee, I'll come to you first because you were actually at the game last Tuesday against Germany at Wembley. It seems an age ago now, actually, that match. And it's a game that I think all of us will never forget, especially yourself, Lee, being there. But before the game, if I take it back before the match, was Gareth Southgate's decision to go with the formation that he went like a 3-4-3 and the lineup that he chose, do you think that was vindicated by the outcome?
Yeah, clearly, because we're into the next round, aren't we? So I think there'll have been quite a few people eating some humble pie after that result.
Yeah. Definitely, mate, definitely. And Joe, the game itself, I mean, in the first half, it was a little bit cagey at times. I think we took a while to get settled. And over the course of the game, Jordan Pickford, he pulled off 2 great saves. We were indebted to him and his performance, weren't we, Joe?
Absolutely, even for a Mackham. But, yeah, it was a good performance at the end of the day from Pickford. I mean, the last time I was on the show, I touched about Kai Havertz, and he was going to be Germany's main threat throughout that game. And particularly in that second half, when Pickford said that shot was probably heading on target, and he managed to keep it out pretty much like what Seaman did back in '96. So it was very good for once, as us Boro fans, to see a Mackham do well for his country.
Yeah, definitely, Joe. And Tony, you were on the show with me last Monday night, and we were like in awe, really, of the games involving France and Spain and all the goals that were flying in and everything like that. But in its own way, that England-Germany game last Tuesday, it was compelling in its own way, wasn't it?
Like you said, it's another one of them unique fixtures. England-Scotland, England-Germany, they're our 2 biggest games. And like you would say, to wait so long for us to knock Germany out of a competition, it was dreamland, especially for the likes of from my era. I was just seeing art being caused heartache and misery off the Germans over the years. To actually knock them out and to do it in the way we did, I was absolutely buzzing. Everything Southgate's doing at the moment is turning to gold for him. It's and it's not luck, James. It's down to hard work and planning and his backroom staff, and everything just seems to be coming up roses for him at the moment. But to beat them Germans 2-0 and to see Harry Kane get back up and running after the stick, well, Sterling as well. Sterling's been, for me, absolutely fantastic in the competition. But for Harry to start, to get his goal and get up and running, to shut a few doubters up, it was just first class. And Lee's fortunate enough to be there. The pictures, the scenes were absolutely amazing. Yeah. After the game, the hair's just standing up on the back of your neck. Yeah. And yeah. I got up the next day and I had to watch it all again. It was just too good not to watch it again. It was fantastic.
Yeah, I echo your words there, Tony. Definitely. Damon LaRoche has been in touch with, and he said the game against the Germans will be remembered for a long time. We were quality, especially in the second half. And if I take you back to that, Lee, I mean, it was 3/4 of the game had gone and it was still 0-0. What was the atmosphere like actually inside the stadium? Was there any doubt amongst the England fans that you were sat amongst? And how were people feeling when it was still 0-0
then? You could feel the tense nerves creeping in, you know what I mean? I'd convinced myself it was going to extra time. We were going to get beat on penalties. There was quite a few clamouring for Grealish to come on as well. Obviously, he done the job when he did come on. But the atmosphere overall, pretty much from start to finish, but especially the last 25 minutes, I've never heard anything like it.
Really? Best atmosphere you've
Yeah.
ever been in a football ground, mate?
One of, mate. Like, considering there was only 45,000 in there, like, honestly, I've been to Wembley where it's been like full house and it's just been quiet. Like that was like, it was special, mate. Honestly, it was loud.
Oh, great. And Joe, as Lee touched on there, Jack Grealish, his introduction had a massive effect on the game, didn't it?
Yeah, I think once you tell before he came on, you can tell that Bukayo Saka definitely ran his heart out for that game and definitely needed taken off. And I even touched on the last time I was on that Harry Kane did need the service in order to get his tournament on track and that. And obviously Grealish provided him the platform for him to do that. And obviously first up when he set up Sterling for the first goal, proves what a worth he can be. And then obviously in the setup for Kane's goal. So, yeah, I think Grealish did make a massive impact when he came on against Germany. But I think, before obviously Kane scored, I think there was just that heart and mouth moment when we all thought, Thomas Muller could have very easily equalised with Germany. And we all know Thomas Muller has put a hurt on us at both on club level and on international level for years. And but for some reason, Oddie missed. I mean, Lee, I've got to ask Lee, what was the atmosphere like when Muller was through on goal and he ended up missing?
Oh, mate, do you know, when the stadium just, takes a collective, sharp breath of air, just went silent, and then, when it went wide, it was just limbs all around. It was just as if we just scored a goal, mate. It was just, just everyone going.
It doesn't happen to England, that. That should not.
The Germans was there was about 5,000 of the Germans. They were sat beneath me to the right, and I was watching I was watching them, and they all jumped up thinking it was in, and it was just hands in their heads, man. They were absolutely devastated.
There must have been 15, 20 million men, English fans, women, just waiting for that ball to end up in the corner of the net, because what happens to us. That's what happens to England. And he missed.
Don't get that look. We don't get that look. He actually did drag it wide as well. You'd put your mortgage on Muller's scoring there, wouldn't you?
He absolutely fluffed it.
Yeah. Our luck's in.
Great moment. But to go back to that, there's been we've. I know we're not talking about the Ukraine game yet, but we've made a mistake like that in nearly every game, and it's going to bite us in the ass one game. You know what I mean? It was, we were in comfortable possession, and for Sterling to give the ball away so deep as well, and for him to, potentially for him to get back in the game and have the momentum going into extra time, or most probably get another. That's the only downside. There's a mistake still in that team somewhere, and we haven't been punished by it yet.
Yeah, well, hopefully we're not, Tony, and I'm sure we all echo what Jimmy Robinson was saying there, saying good luck to all the lads that are involved in the next two games and bring it home. It can bring a lot of happiness to a country which has suffered a lot over the last 18 months. I know a lot of countries have around the world, but it would prove such a lift, wouldn't it, Tony, to the nation as a whole if we were to go on and get to the final and then, fingers crossed, even win it.
You only have to look at your TV to see what it does for the country. You know what I mean? People getting together, families getting together, fan parks. Lee, fortunate enough, fans being let back in stadiums. It just feels different. It feels the special times, James, and you look back on them in years to come. The really it is creating memories, the fond memories. In the past we've had Beckham getting sent off when we were cruising 2-1 against Argentina. Things like this don't happen to England, and I'll keep saying it, and it's absolutely fantastic. And long may it continue. And like you say, for the country to give us a lift, to give everyone in this, to give everyone in this country a massive lift. Southgate. Southgate knows how important that is as well, and I just bow down to the man. I tell you, Steve Gibson must wake up every morning now and hit himself in the face, because God knows how far Southgate. He's took them skills from the Boro to England. He had these skills and he had these management skills when he was at the Boro, and we shot it in the gutter. And like you say, God knows where we would have been if we'd have persevered with him.
Yeah, interesting points. That's something we'll maybe look at further on in the show. I mean, Lee, Peter Grassham's been in touch. Thanks for watching again, Peter. And he said, for once, the success is down to us playing as a team and not as individuals. As Alf Ramsey used to say, he picked the best team, not the best individuals. And it's safe to say we've had what we've called golden generations in the past, and they've maybe flattered to deceive a little bit. This side of the minute, they have been built up, not to the same extent, but they are delivering at the moment, aren't they?
Yeah, like I seen on Twitter a picture of the golden generation and a picture of this team, and like side by side individually, they blow this team out of the water, don't they? Really, like it's just mad to think we didn't win anything with that team. But I think like a lot of what Southgate's done is like all that team building, these rubbish like the club specific tables at dinner time, and that Manchester United players sitting on one table, Chelsea players sitting on another. He's got rid of all that carry on like. I think he's made it enjoyable. Like players actually want to play for England now, because back then, like you could see that some players didn't want to be there. It was almost like a chore. Like they couldn't be bothered. Yeah. I think like now, I think people do actually want to be there.
Yeah, no, agree with you, Lee. Agree. And just to back up your theory there, Tony, Gareth Cole's been in touch, and he said after Steve Gibson got rid of Southgate, he then brought Strachan in. His biggest mistake ever. I think you would go along with that, wouldn't you, Tone?
Definitely, the club's never ever recovered from that day. Never. We had a bit of success under Karanka, but once he got rid of Southgate and brought, I won't swear, when he brought Strachan in, we've never recovered from that, James, and we're still a long way from recovering from it. He was the worst choice, He was the worst manager for us, and what Benitez is going to be for Everton.
You do well. That's something for another show as well. That mate, I think Everton should maybe count themselves a bit fortunate to have Benitez. To be honest, I think he'll do a good job there. But club rivalries go a long way. Yeah.
I think he does well wherever he goes for me.
Yeah. Joe, we'll bring it back to this Germany game before we move on to the Ukraine match. And we mentioned earlier on about Harry Kane. Up until that game, as Tony mentioned earlier, he was getting a fair bit of flack, and even in the game itself against Germany, that's why he was pretty quiet for 60 minutes or so, but when he opened his account, you could almost sense the weight being lifted off his shoulders, couldn't you?
Yeah, I think so. I think, since at the end of the season when he was at Tottenham, there was a lot of speculation over his future regarding, where he's going to be at club-wise next season. But, group stage, we never saw the best of Kane, but back going to the Germany game, I think it was a massive weight off his shoulders, like you said. And obviously, he got from back there, and then we've got obviously going to the Ukraine game in a sec. So I think whoever it has in his head, at club level, I think whether he's going to be at Spurs or not at the end of the season, that's a job for Nuno Espirito Santo to sort out. But yeah, it was good to see Kane get off the mark, because he's definitely, like I said before, he needed the service, and because he was lacking that in the group stages, and obviously he got the service he required from the likes of Grealish and from the Anshaw, for example, for the Germany game.
Yeah. And Lee, as we mentioned, you were there last week at the game, and I think it even came across on the television, but it did come across on the TV, the scenes when the goals went in, the celebrations. That's what makes being a football fan special, days and nights like that, and it must have just been unreal.
Yeah, mate, like, it was surreal. Like, even after the full-time whistle, we were in the stadium for a good 25, 30 minutes still, like I'm sure you've seen them all, like, singing along to Sweet Caroline and that. It got to the point where I was thinking, I need to get home, like, because I'm going to miss my train. It's just, like, it was just pure party central, mate. It was a good, proper party atmosphere.
Right.
Can I just ask Lee a question on Harry Kane? Like you say, you see different things when you're there, Lee. Did Harry Kane look as sluggish actually being there to what he was on the TV?
I thought he looked a bit sluggish, yeah, like a bit off the ball, but probably confidence, wasn't it? Because as you've seen against Ukraine, he's straight back amongst the goals now. When he did score against Germany, I think it was quite a hard header to take, to be fair, like the one against Germany. It just looked
Yeah,
like
he got enough in shape, didn't he?
just looked like a massive weight off his shoulder, like, you know what I mean. So I think it's been confidence, mate. To be fair.
Yeah.
Joe, what was your overriding sense or emotion at the final whistle last week when we beat Germany?
Just pure elation in the end. I mean, we haven't beaten Germany in the competitive qualify for a long time now, and I think seeing that how it all unfolded, obviously, was a huge sense of elation for me. I think it was the first time I've ever been like that ever since we've beaten 5-1, and that was about a good 20 odd years ago now. So it was just pure elation from the final whistle.
Yeah. And Tony, any sympathy for the Germans?
Fuck them. Good.
Been a long time coming at it, mate.
Oh, hey, James, I tell you what. It was, like you say, it was absolute dreamland. You go back to 66, the last time we beat them. Even I wasn't old enough to remember that. And like I said earlier, all the heartache and all the misery and disappointment that have caused, just them 2 goals has just totally wiped that. That's all gone now because it's done. We've got rid of that Odo now, and we can move on now. It's like you say, at the start of the tournament, I tipped us only to get to the last 16 because it was either going to be France, Portugal, or Germany, and we've just put that to bed, and we're going from strength to strength.
Yep. Damon's been back in touch again. He's just said there, loved the scenes around England after the game. He has no sympathy for the Germans either. What was it like coming out of the ground after the game, Lee? What was it? Obviously, I dare say you'll have bumped into the German fans. What were they like? Were they pretty subdued? How were they?
Yeah, like there was sound like they were good sports. You know what I mean? Quite a few of them were saying that the glad Yogi Lowe's finished they're saying he should have left after the Germany World Cup.
Right.
But they were saying how good England look at the minute. Right. I was talking to one German lad and he said it didn't look like England got out of first gear, you know what I mean? Yeah. And he's saying that reminds him of Germany from previous tournaments. So it's good to hear other fans say that.
Yeah, it is. It's interesting when you hear fans from other teams and their perspective on England, and I think we all get wrapped up in the bubble here, because we're desperate for the team to do well, and we might pick on the slightest thing. Whereas, like you say there, for Germany to be, I don't think you can get a bigger compliment than that for them to say it reminds them of them.
I think we were that focused on our attacking players we've got through the group stage and why we weren't winning teams 3-4-0, why we drew with Scotland 0-0. Sometimes you just need to take a step back, look at the bigger picture, think, well, we've got through the groups without conceding a goal. Like I said, if that was Italy or Germany, our media would be saying how professional and what a machine they are, you know what I mean? So you just got to take a look at the bigger picture sometimes, I think.
Yeah, no, totally agree. So we're still in the competition. It was on to the quarterfinals next. Gareth Cole said, my kids have got me a New England top of the Euros for Father's Day. I can't wash it. Superstition's got the better of me, and I'll keep it till we concede. Anyone else got any mad superstitions? Any of you lads got any mad superstitions regarding England and what you're going to do for the rest of the tournament, or what you have been doing?
My girlfriend was wanting to go to the final, but I haven't took her to one of the games, so she's not going because she might jinx it. She's not going because she might jinx it.
Go on, Tony.
I think I haven't got any superstitions, to be honest. I just like to think positive going into a game, and obviously sometimes it helps and sometimes it hasn't, but I always just want to think positive regardless of result.
Tony?
I used to when I was younger, not so much now. I was going to go get my hair cut the day or tomorrow, but I thought, like you say, I'll just leave it till after Wednesday because it's just, like you say, it's psychological, isn't it? I'll just leave my hair as it is till Wednesday. Till after Wednesday. You just want it smooth, though. You just want everything to go absolutely perfect, like last Saturday night.
Yeah. I think last thing before we move off the Germany game, Peter Grasham again has got in touch and he said, can't believe they set up a fund for the little girl who was crying. Can you set up one for me? Because I've been crying for years with the Boro. There's not enough money out there, Peter. All the hurt and heartache. The Boro, of course, the generations of fans on Teesside. That's goes beyond the national debt. That does. And Alfie Hood's been in touch, Tony. He's wanting to know if we win the Euros, are you going to get the Foden trim?
Well, I tell you what, I think I've got the photographic evidence somewhere. I have sported the Gaza blonde locks in the past, you know what I mean? I remember going to Salou with a blonde mop and everyone thought I was Jimmy Five Bellies, you know what I mean?
Oh, well, England's success, Lee, for beating the Germans was a date in Rome at the weekend against Ukraine and having to leave our home comforts of Wembley behind. I know you actually looked into the possibility of going to Rome, didn't you, after the game against Germany?
Yeah, just impossible with all the carry on with COVID and having to isolate and that. But I do know, I know people who did go didn't get checked when they got there, didn't get checked coming back whatsoever. So if you were willing to be ballsy and risk it, fair enough. But not for me. It was too much hassle.
Tony, on the night, we talked about big calls earlier on from Gareth Southgate, and he's got them right, and he's been justified every time. Jadon Sancho came in for his first appearance in the tournament, and again, Southgate's spot on, wasn't he?
Yeah, just totally. When I first seen the team, it just totally knocks you sideways. He has no fear. He doesn't pick, like you say, he doesn't pick who all these pundits are telling him to pick. He doesn't pick who the fans want him to pick. Everyone's still screaming for Grealish and Foden to be in the starting 11. And he makes a change. You know, he brought Mount back in and starting with Sancho, who I thought, really, he's never really done it for me yet, James. I've never seen him that much playing over in Germany. But when he's had an England shirt on, he's never really impressed me. But against the Ukraine, he just seemed, like you say, he just seems like a street footballer. But what they've been saying about him, I thought he was very impressive. Whether it's because Southgate's seen he's had the weight of the Manchester United move on his shoulders, and now that's completed, he's given him his reign, you know what I mean? But like you say, it just keeps pulling the rabbit out of the hat, doesn't he? You know what I mean, James? It just seems like there's not a mistake in Southgate at the moment.
Long way to continue.
I agree with you.
I dare say he could pick me and I'd perform for him even at my age.
And Joe, I think we all thought before the game.
Yes, sir.
I was just going to say, Joe, I think before the game we all thought Ukraine would be hard to break down. It'd be a difficult game, could be a long night. But their game plan was up in the air after 4 minutes, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, from what I looked when they played Sweden, Ukraine were definitely a strong physical side, obviously going into the game with Zinchenko, Yarmolenko, Yaramchuk and Malinowski, the key players that they were to watch out for. But they hardly got a stiff, and obviously their game plan, like you said, was outdone after just 4 minutes when when Kane struck. And then it all went sail from there. I mean, obviously, going back to what you were saying to Guesty about Sancho, I mean, Guesty was definitely right when obviously Southgate was obviously didn't want to put him in right from the group stages because with all the speculation with him going to Man United, etc. So it was kind of, good to get that out of the way, and obviously Southgate picked the right moment to put him in the team, and obviously you can tell from the game it obviously worked.
Yeah. Bring it back to you now, Lee. Zach Buckley's been in touch and he said, apparently if people flew to Dubai, then flew to Rome, you could avoid needing to quarantine. I don't know, it's a long way to get to Rome, that is, Zach. But yeah, if you get to another match, go that way. We've got a fair few grand going. The match itself, Lee, though, apart from a few uncomfortable moments in the first half, it was like we were composed and in control. Not the sort of things you associate with England and knockout games and major tournaments, is it?
No, I had the Iceland game in the back of my head, you know what I mean? I was getting myself carried away thinking we're surely going to beat Ukraine. And then I seen the last 4 games against them had been 1 win each, 2 draws. So I started thinking, it's going to be the same as Iceland. We're going to get done. But I don't think Southgate lets them fall into that trap of believing they've won it. You know what I mean? Yeah. It was just a proper professional performance. I was watching it with my mate, and I said, is this what it's like to be good at a tournament? Like we are doing what Germany do. Like it just doesn't feel right. Like I'm just waiting for it to go wrong. It doesn't feel right.
No. Like we went 1-0 up, and then in the past, England, but right, let's get the second, bang, 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 let's go. But we just seem to slow the game down. We let them have the ball for a period, and we just composed ourselves. And like you said, it's what other teams do, Lee. They're just soak it up for a bit, but it's
the
not
second
normal,
goal
man.
came at a proper good time as well, didn't it? Straight after half time, like
Both
just
goals,
threw
both the
their
first
team
goals,
talk
yeah.
right out the window, hadn't it? Like
Yeah, like you
just-
said, they thought they were getting a foothold towards the end of the first half, but
yeah.
I don't think we were ever under any pressure off them. I just keep looking at the players who are playing for these countries, and one of their main men has hardly kicked the ball for West Ham all season. You know what I mean? And you look at our back four, and we're on about them mistakes again. Walker dropped the blob again. He's been a liability in a few games, Walker. He's very sloppy in possession, and he gives the ball away in some bad places. But there was another one we got away with. But when you look at our back four and when you do matchups, I never felt under threat at any time in that game, Lee.
No, I didn't, mate. And like going on about the back four, I thought Luke Shaw was class, man. Like
Just
Yeah.
he was class. Like I honestly don't watch much Premier League football since Boro got relegated out of it. Like, and I know he's been getting rave reviews for United this season, but he was class. Like 2 assists, wasn't it? He just offered an outlet down that wide, down the flank. He was class, man. Like just he just constant. It was more like he was playing like as a right winger or left winger. Sorry, he was just constantly bombing down their fullback. Like I thought he was great. I thought Trippier was good as well, but I think Luke Shaw was my man of the match probably.
Yeah, definitely.
I think, Lee, since the second half of the Germany game, he's just come on an absolute bundle in the second half of that game.
Yeah.
And then the Ukraine match is just absolutely up and down that flank. And what also gets me, and I was one that was disappointed when Trent Alexander-Arnold had to drop out because I was worried about the delivery into the box and what we were going to lose from that. Well, I'll tell you what, in the last game and a half, Luke Shaw has more than made up for that, hasn't he?
Yeah, that's
Like
another one I was saying about Trent Alexander-Arnold and James Ward-Prowse. Like, I was a bit angry, really, but Southgate's proved everyone wrong time and time again, hasn't he? So I'll just shut up. That's why I'm waiting down the docks and he's the manager of England.
Yeah, he got criticised. He got criticised for picking all them right fullbacks. But it's the left-hand side. It's the left fullback that's doing all the damage. You know what I mean? So,
and Joe, the night itself was topped off by Jordan Henderson at the 62nd attempt, finally breaking his duck for England. And again, we've talked earlier in the show about golden generation, but it's the strength in depth as well. I mean, you can bring someone like Henderson on, and the substitutions we made in the game, and it didn't weaken the team. You're thinking, whoa, look at this, Bellingham's coming on now, and he's starting to run the show. It's frightening, isn't it, Joe?
It is. I mean, we have strength in all kinds of areas. I mean, obviously, with Maguire, coming back into the fold and obviously getting the second, and then Kane grabbing the third, and then going back to Henderson, he took the goal well for his first international goal. I was messaging Guesty after the game as well. I mean, saying, why all the Mackhams are doing well in this tournament with Pickford and Henderson. kind of makes us Spurs fans a bit envious, but no, it was good for him to get off the mark because I think obviously before the tournament when he played against Romania and he missed that penalty, there was a bit of a question mark over Henderson, but he managed to redeem himself, obviously getting the goal to seal the win, and then obviously sets us up for a semi-final with the Danes.
Yeah, and Lee, to be honest,
we're talking about Henderson there. We're talking about Henderson there, and we've still never mentioned. None of us have mentioned the job Rice and Phillips are doing. They've been absolutely outstanding, and Southgate has been criticised from day one for playing two holding midfielders, but it's definitely the way forward for the way we're playing. But I always feel like when Henderson does come on in these few games, he seems to get us another 10 yards up the pitch, and he seems more effective than what them two are doing going forward. You know what I mean? And like you say, when you've got a player like Jordan Henderson to come in off the bench, into a team that's already dominating, it's dreamland, isn't it? And then, like you say, you've still got all them attacking options sat there. You Rashford, Grealish, Foden, all just sat on the bench waiting to come on.
Yeah, totally. I mean, Lee, it couldn't have gone any better for a quarter-final in terms of the night itself, the game, and then your preparation for your semi-final to be 4-0 up after 60-odd minutes. It couldn't have gone any better, could it?
Yeah, like, I just going back to Henderson there, like, I had 3-0 Kane, so I don't want to talk about him. I don't want to give him that goal. I've been critical of Rice myself, but I thought he was class the other night. He was all over, just harrying them, breaking their attacks down, But I think going back to the point there of like, so Foden might go out and Sancho comes in. It's benefiting us because we're replacing class with class, so we can rotate. You know what I mean? Like, good players going out, good players coming in. Where Denmark against the Czechs, they look knackered about 60 minutes in. So I think that'll help us out. I think, hopefully, fingers crossed.
I think that's a key point you make there, Lee, because especially with the season that everybody's just had, where games have been condensed into maybe 8 months instead of 9.5 months, it's been a really draining season for everybody. The fact that we can continually rotate players with good players is a massive factor in us doing well, isn't it?
Yeah, massively. Like, you just look at some of the players who didn't start against Germany, but then started, like Sancho, Mount. It's ridiculous the depth we've got in the squad. Like, and I think that'll hopefully get us across the line against Denmark.
Yeah.
Southgate touched on it. He said he's learned from the World Cup how tired we were, especially in the second half and extra time against Croatia.
Yeah.
And he said he's learned from it, and he's just keeping everything fresh. And touch wood, up to now, we've had no injuries. Maybe it's a daft odd knock in training. They seem to be getting more knocks in training than they are during the game. So we've been lucky that way as well, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like, us as fans, like, I couldn't tell you the 11 he's going to start on Wednesday. And I think that's good because Denmark definitely won't know. Like, he's probably played 4 different formations, through this tournament.
Yeah.
3-4-3, 4-2-3-1. Like, I love it. Like, just fair play to him, and he's doing a good job.
Oh, yeah.
And he's been flexible, whereas maybe managers in the past just haven't been England managers, should I say, Lee?
Definitely not like Shoehorn and Scalzi on the left, Joe Cole on the left. Like, if we'd have went wing backs back then, who knows what we could have done?
Yeah.
But like, good on him.
Well, lads, we'll leave the England stuff for a little bit, and we'll focus on club matters just for a little bit before we preview the semi-finals. Francis Pape, who was on the show last week, he's wanted to know our thoughts on Boro's new players. So, Tony, I'll come to you first. And the transfer deals that involve the top end of the pitch, and that's Sammy Amiobi and Hutchy Ikpiezu join us. What were your thoughts on those two, Tone?
I wasn't that, impressed with the Sammy Amiobi transfer, but he's here now, James, and he's going to put a red shirt on, so he'll have my support, you know what I mean? But I don't know that Joel know more than me. I don't know much about Hutchy P. Soupy, whatever he's called, the big lad from Wickham up front. I heard a story today where when Warnock was asking about signing him, he spoke to one of his old centre halves, and his old centre half was supposed to have said to Warnock, he's hard as nails, and he put me on my ass. So apparently Warnock's turned around and said, well, that's good enough for me. He can get himself here. You know what I mean? So if it's going to be the way, it's going to be the way. It looks like, it's Warnock's way in the past. Big target man up front. We just have to go with it, James. You know what I mean? Like, Joe know more about him than me. I know he had a decent game against us, the last game of the season, but I don't know much about either of them. Or the centre half that's coming from West Brom. What's worrying me about that is the centre half coming in. Is that, is Dale Fry on his way out?
What do you reckon, Joe?
Yeah, I think obviously Amiobi coming in was obviously going to be one that we definitely need to put more width into the team. Obviously, we've lost Marvin Johnson, obviously, in this window, and then I think Amiobi is one of them players that he could be a bit hot and cold in times. You never know what you're going to get when you turn up to watch him. So he could be a well-beaten on this day, but then the next game he just looks completely off it. Ikpeazu, I think it's definitely needed a couple of strikers in, obviously, with a Sombalonga gone and Fletcher gone. I think Ikpeazu could be one of them players. Obviously, it could be a big unit up front. He's got the pace, got power, pretty much. I mean, obviously, that goal he scored against us at Adams Park, I mean, you can tell he's going to be one of them players. I mean, he had a couple of decent spells in the lower leagues. I think his most successful one, I think I can recall, was when he was with Cambridge United, I think back in 2016 through to 2018. He made like 81 appearances, scoring 22 goals in that time at Cambridge. And then didn't have the best spell at Hearts over in Scotland. But
I was just going to say, Joe, I saw him a couple of times at Hearts. I've been up to Hearts a few times and I watched him. And I've got to say, I was reasonably impressed with him. He's deceptive. He's a big bloke, but he's not actually bad with the ball at his feet. I think a few people get shocked by him, and I think he's quite a shrewd signing, Joe.
Yeah, I'd say I agree with that myself. I mean, even though it's an undisclosed fee, I mean, from what I've read, I think it's 750,000. I think the actual fee, and I think it could rise to £1 million in add-ons. I think it's a good bit of business done by both sides, and I think also Lee Peltier coming in from West Brom. I think he can do is probably some bit of competition in the right back area, because I'm not sure what the rumours going about Darnell Fisher and how serious his injuries come up to be like. But I mean, I would prefer to play him more than Spence, to be honest.
Right.
How Spence has been last season. But
does he come as a centre half or a full back, Joe?
I think Peltier is one of them versatile players. I think he can play centre back, he can play right back, he can play defensive midfield as well. So and plus is another one of them players that Warnock knows very well. Obviously, he had two spells with him. Obviously, the first with the Yorkshire Tea Leaves, and then the second one being at Cardiff. So he's obviously someone that Warnock knows well, who can obviously provide a bit of experience in the back line or helping along the back line.
Yeah. Lee, I was just going to mention there, Chris Sykes had got in touch. It's just gone off the screen now, but mentioning about George Saville, and he was a little bit sorry to see him go, but it felt as though he was a bit hit and miss in his time here. What's your thoughts on Saville, and were you surprised to see him depart and go to Millwall?
I liked him, yeah. I thought Warnock liked him. I was surprised to see him go, but I've heard today that it was personal reasons, so I don't know how true that is. But fair play to him. I liked him. I thought he always put the effort in. I thought he was a decent player for us.
Yeah, do you think he was a bit of a victim of his transfer fee, Lee?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, absolutely. Because definitely. Yeah, no two ways about it. Even I've questioned why we paid that much at times. But it doesn't mean I didn't like him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A lot of money to be spent at this level.
I remember the Millwall fans, they were absolutely over the moon that they got that amount of money for him.
Yeah.
You know, they couldn't believe they got that money for him. So they've got him back now. So, but I was gutted when he went. I'm gutted he's left. For me, he give everything every game. Every time he put a Boro shirt on, he seemed to give everything.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, there's one that as soon as a couple of hours ago, I mean, I just said the one rumour that Hayden Coulson might be going to Ipswich Town on loan, so I'm not sure if that's a move that will benefit both sides, and particularly Coulson in the long run, because he's not getting much of a look in under Warnock. So what do you guys think of possibly Coulson going to Ipswich on loan?
Well, I thought he'd try to build some bridges with Warnock and give it a real good go. I'd like to see the likes of Coulson. Just like you say, when he first came into the team, Joe, under Woodgate, he was absolutely fantastic, and I was hoping we'd start to see the best of him this season. But I've seen the same as you, where it looks like he's going to Ipswich on loan. Like you say, I'd like to see the likes of Coulson stay for this season.
Yeah, I could sort of see from a professional point of view where it might benefit him getting more games going to Ipswich, but I just think if he goes to Ipswich, I don't think he'd be then coming back here to play for us. I think it'll be more of a view to him moving on, and I don't think our squad's big enough or got enough quality at the minute that we can afford to be shipping out players like Coulson to the Championship, to League One teams on loan. I'd rather keep him here, to be honest.
Yeah.
But Peter Grasson mentioned, lads, about The days of us shopping in Harrods have gone. We're now shopping in Netto. So that might have been a bit of a surprise, Tony, that on Friday we were getting linked with an Argentinian youth international, Martin Piero, and some sources were quoting fees in the region of 5 million, which I know Neil Warnock's dismissed, but he hasn't dismissed the fact that we're looking in that area. What were your thoughts on that, Tone?
Like you say, I thought it's just one of them newspaper stories, you know what I mean, James? There's that much that flashes up now on your phone. You never know what to believe. And then it was at the time when we just signed the big lad and the centre half from West Brom, and you think, well, where's this kid holding his Boro top? You know what I mean? So just take it with a pinch of salt till you see that photograph with him stood with a Boro shirt, James.
I mean, there was rumours going towards the end of last season where Warnock was going to send Ronnie Jepson abroad for a scouting mission. I mean, he must have sent him over to somewhere in South America to scout some players. I mean, I think that's the one that Jepson will probably have on the list.
Yeah, I hope Zach's mates were booking his flights for him.
Yeah.
You might struggle to get him back for the start of the season.
It was some Argentinian journalists on Twitter who were breaking that. So, like, obviously they must know something, and quite a lot of the Banfield fans on Twitter were like quite devastated, to be honest, saying how he shouldn't be going to a second division club. He could be going to a higher team, you know. So, fingers crossed we do manage to get him, like, nice little creative number 10 playing for us. Yeah, I'd be happy with that.
It'd be nice. Ramirez has gone, really, isn't it? Like,
yeah, pretty much, mate. We've failed to replace him, really, haven't we? Ever since.
Yeah,
it's been a while. It's been a while since we found a gem. You know what I mean? So it'd be nice for us to pull something like this off and for him to be a success. You know what I mean?
Hopefully, he is similar to Ramirez and not Carlos De Pena.
I think
Marinelli.
Yeah, Marinelli.
Well, I think he's been going to play in the Tokyo Olympics, I think, for Argentina this summer. So the chances are, if he does come to us, he'll be more or less be coming over straight after he's done with that. So if he does come in, it could be a good coup for us. But obviously, we have to obviously think of Marinelli and Depena. So we just have to be wary of that.
Yeah. Paul Nicholas has been in touch. He said Warnock's playing his cards close to his chest. Reckons Piero will be a Boro player. Like you say there, though, Joe, it's very much like it'll be a case of if he does come, probably be after the season starts, because the Olympics don't start at the end of this month.
Yeah.
Argentina will probably go deep in that competition, so he won't be able after the season started. And then when will he fit in? It obviously takes time to acclimatise to the game over here. So I think people would have to understand, and would people in a way, Joe, understand if we've spent £3-4 million on a player, they'll want goods from him straight away, won't they?
Yeah, but obviously, you know, the old saying goes, you can't rush into everything all the time, and you can't expect greatness all the time either. So, like I said, if he does come in, you know, midpoint of the season, obviously, I won't be surprised if Warnock will probably keep him on the bench as a substitute for possibly the first few games. So, it's one of those, you know, you just can't rush into greatness all the time, and you can't be the best player in the world overnight. So, Boro fans have to get used to that, and obviously, something we've struggled with over the last couple of few years with something. I mean, you look at it, Afonso Alves, for example.
Yeah. Well, lads, we'll leave it at the Boro stuff there. I'm sure there'll be plenty to talk about from a Boro point of view next week. Go back to the Euros now. We're going to preview the two semi-finals. Joe, since we last spoke on the show, we've had France and Belgium go out in the last week, but it hasn't lessened the quality of the tournament or the football in the tournament, has it?
No, I mean, you've still got two of the teams that are playing in the other semi-final. They're going to be considered favourites for the tournament in Spain and Italy. I mean, Italy especially. I mean, they've impressed me throughout this whole competition. It's just not even the way they played it. It's just the overall passion overall that they have. You can see it when they're in the national anthems. You can see it out on the pitch, and you can see how Roberto Mancini has their Italy playing throughout the whole tournament. I mean, obviously, they've been unbeaten so far. Obviously, they went to extra time against Austria, but they ended up persevering together and winning that. So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, you know, Italy and Spain. I think Italy might end up taking that one, I think.
Right. Lee, what are you expecting there tomorrow night in the first semi-final? And from an England point of view, who do you want to win?
I think they're both decent. Like, I think I'd prefer to play Spain because they're nowhere near as good as they were like 2008, 2010. They still play the same. Like, they have all the ball. They own that. Didn't against Sweden, they had something like 80% of the ball, drew 0-0. I don't think they've played anyone really quality yet, and I think Italy could do them over.
Yeah.
I think Italy are 31 unbeaten now.
Yeah, it's an unbelievable amount. I think 13 straight wins, 32 games undefeated. I mean, it doesn't matter who you're playing against. That's some record, isn't it? Like,
Yeah. I think it will be Italy in the final, but it's you can't say which one you'd prefer because they are both good teams. I just don't think Spain are what they were. They're going through a bit of a change, bit of a transition, but bring them on. Hopefully we get there, but bring them on.
Spain have done well considering they were all isolating the week before the tournament, and they had a shadow squad on standby, and they've done well. But do you know what, Lee, James, Joe? I think no one's tested the Italians yet. I just love someone to run at Cellini and the other big lad at the back. You know, they're both as old as what I am, and we haven't seen no one turn them round yet. Do you know what I mean? So it's going to be a tester of a game. I heard that day. What was it? One quote was Spain for sure, Italy for door. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Like you say, Italy without is it Spinazzola now? He's out.
Yeah.
And he was one of their main threats. Was he at Newcastle, by the way?
Don't think so.
No, that was David Santon.
Was it?
Yeah.
I think a lot of their attacking threat came from him. And after it was a little lad who's absolutely destroying everyone, Joe.
Lorenzo Insigne.
He seems to only have one trick in the bag at the moment, like, because every time I've watched him, he tries it 3 or 4 times every game, and he was lucky enough for it to come off the other night. He's had plenty of practice, you know what I mean? So I dare say Enrique.
They've been similar to Italy, where he hasn't picked like all players from the top 3 or 4 big teams, you know, and like he's rotated quite a bit as well, Mancini. So I think they'll be the ones to watch. I mean, the ones to beat.
Yeah. Plus, like I say, Lee, they got the 2 players from Sassuolo. I think Locatelli and Berardi. They've impressed the heck out of me ever since they came into the fold.
That Locatelli's goal in the groups, was it?
How much do you think? How much do you think with what Lineker said the other night? Has that had a bearing on the competition? These 4 teams that are left in the competition played all the group games at home, which it just shows the benefit of that. What that's been like for these teams.
I think it's had a massive effect on it. It's more than a coincidence because normally when you're in a tournament, you're in one country and you've got the host nation and that's it, and everyone else is travelling the same sort of distances between games. Like you say, it's been loaded. And Denmark, you wouldn't have probably had them down to do that well. But Spain, Italy and England have already got good enough squads, good enough players. The fact that they've had 3 group games, and then in the case of England and Italy, well, they haven't had to travel that far for then the games after that. I mean, Italy were in Munich, weren't they, against Belgium. We've had to go to Rome, play Ukraine. I think it's got to have played a massive factor in the outcome of the games, Tony, definitely.
Just before we go to the England game then, has anybody seen what Craig Bailey said about the structure of the competition? How biased it's been towards England? Well, all I can say to him, is, UEFA with that kind, they give them 2 games at Hampden Park and they never won one of them. So, they should have been playing in Baku. Chance on this.
Didn't they?
If Scotland did get through the group as well, there was a chance that the knockout game could have been at Hampden. So it's just sour grapes, man.
Well, the knockout game was,
I I have heard a rumour, lads, and I don't know how true it is, but if England do win the Euros on Sunday, apparently we have to share the trophy for 6 months with Scotland because they drew with us. It's not been confirmed, but that's what I've been told. Absolute desperation. Desperation.
Like you say, that I love that quote. They must be costing them a fortune in footy tops.
And flags.
Yeah.
Unreal. Unreal. Anyway, lads, that's Italy, Spain. That's tomorrow. The main event's the following evening for all of us boys, England, Denmark. I'll come round to you all in turn. I'll start with you first, Tony. What's your plans for Wednesday night? Where you're watching the game?
I don't know, Lee might be able to let me know more, but we're still looking for tickets to try and get down there, James. So at the moment, it's a bit up in the air. So, you know, I have a level, and I think our Cameron's come back saying the ticket's £67, which, you know, the closer it's getting, if we can get tickets, it'll be worth every penny. But I'm not going to tell him that yet. You know what I mean? So if things go to plan, I'm hoping to get down there for the match, James. But if not, they'll all just be back around here on Wednesday night.
Gareth Cole's going to the Pied Piper and he's got 2-0 for England. How about yourself, Joe?
I'm just probably watching the comfort of my own home, to be honest. Just keep it nice and simple. Obviously, as it is. So I'll just be watching it in my bedroom from my own home.
Yeah. And Lee, obviously, you go to as many games as you can get to. I mean, you were telling me off air before the show, you've had a bit of a dilemma, haven't you, this week?
Yeah, like, obviously I've done the 3 group games and then I've done the round of 16. So, like, I'm just financially ruined. It's one or the other. I'm holding out for the final because if it comes to it, I don't want to miss the final. So on Wednesday, I'm just going to watch it at home. I don't want to go to the pub. I don't want to go around with mates. I want to, like, take it in because there's not a lot I can remember from the 4 games I've been to because I've just been drunk. Like, I want to. This is probably the biggest game of my life, so I want to remember it. You know what I mean? I'm just going to watch it at home, drink some water.
And I'll go around to all again now.
I tell you what, though, mate, you won't be alone in that similar situation because I have to fork out money for stuff to go to a comic convention that I'm going to in Telford in November. So you and me will be in that similar situation, mate.
It's killed us, mate. Honestly, it's killed us.
And I'll come round to you all again, lads. Are England going to make it to the first European Championship final? How optimistic are you? And give me a score prediction. Tony, come to you first, mate.
We've won one. We've won one semi-final, haven't we? Was it Portugal?
66.
Bobby Charlton. You know, 1990, 1996, 2018, and I'm a great believer. A lot of averages. We've got home advantage as we did in '96, but I think this team's a lot more disciplined than what the '96 team was. I seen the interview with Alan Shearer after the penalty shootout against Spain in '96, and I think the first thing he said was in the interview was, "I think we deserve a drink after that, don't we?" You know what I mean? I think it's a totally different culture. These lads are more professional. I can just see us. I don't want to get too far ahead of it, but I can see us. I can see us winning comfortable. I just look at Denmark. They've knocked Wales out. They beat Russia. They beat the Czech Republic, who basically they were dead on the feet against the Czechs. You know, a team that we just, you know, like the Germans said to the league, we never got out of first gear against the Czechs. So just got a Southgate. Just in Southgate, I trust. I mean, and whatever needs to be done, Southgate will sort it out Wednesday. Like you say, we've had no sending offs. We've had no David Beckham's kicking RGs, costing us the game. None of that. No silliness. It's been professional from start to finish. You know, all the lads have had the yellow cards. Well, I hope it's like that in this one, like it does in the World Cup. Mm-hmm. So there should be no excuses on Wednesday, James, and I'll go 2-0. And I'll even say Harry Kane will score both of them, and he'll win the Golden Boot against Italy in the final.
That'll be unique if he did that. 2 Golden Boots competitions in a row, like World Cup and Euros. I don't know. Don't know if that's ever been done before. With someone to stand. But I've never heard of anyone winning the Euros and the World Cup boots in a row. But 2-0, and there's a lot of optimism from the fans sending their predictions in. Joe, do you see success for the 3 Lions again on Wednesday?
I think so. I think obviously being the top class being, Denmark, and obviously the one they're on at the moment, and obviously spared on obviously with the Christian Eriksen situation, and obviously they've been the fairy tale of the tournament so far. And I think as much as it pains me to say it, I think very much as some England fans will probably pains me to say it, but we're going to end up being the villain in this story, and I think we'll end up taking possibly a 2-1 or 3-1 win. I think for me, so I'm going to go 3-1 England.
There you go. Whose dog's agreeing with that? As in Danish?
Next doors.
Next door. Might be a jock.
Yeah, it looks like one.
I don't know, man. Like, I want to say 2-0, but I don't think we'll have it all our own way, because I do think they might have some good players, you know what I mean? I'm just hoping our squad rotation over the last few games is going to come into play. I think it'll be tight, and I think they'll start to tire. And then, if you're a Danish player and you're tiring out, and then you see Foden or Sancho coming off the bench, you're thinking, oh, Christ, give us a break. So I think it's going to be 0-0 half-time, 2-0 full-time. Fingers crossed.
I'm with you, and I know we said earlier in the show that it doesn't matter who we're playing. I just think the fact that it's a semi-final and it's not something we're that accustomed to, and it's certainly not something we're accustomed to winning, I think it doesn't matter really who we're playing on Wednesday night. I think it'll be a nervy affair, and I just think we're all that desperate for success that I think it'll come tough on Wednesday night. I don't think it'll be anything like Saturday night's game.
No, we won't have it all.
I think it'll be a tough match. But
the one good thing about Southgate is he won't let like complacency creep in, will he? Like, he'll have them fully focused. Like, I just like you. I don't think we'll have it all our own way. I think it'll be 2-0 with two possibly late goals, 60 minutes onwards.
Right. Well, I really hope you're right, lads, because I think this week so far, is since the game on Saturday,
I'm still alive,
and everyone's getting excited. And I just think, God, if we've got this to look forward to again, then this Sunday for an actual final, I think that'll be immense, won't it, Tony?
Oh, unbelievable! Like Lee, if my heart's still working after 60 minutes, I'll blown if it's still 0-0. But it'll be mental. If England get to a final, it'll be absolute. There's a lot of generations been waiting for it for a long time. Like you say, the young ones today think it's the norm, but for people like myself who's been waiting for a long, long time for it to happen, like you say, would I be better off going to bed Wednesday tea time, just sticking my head under the pillow, get upstairs in the morning, and then just peep on my phone to see whether we're through or not? Might be a bit less stressful, you know what I mean, James?
Yeah. Well, lads, I'm afraid we've reached the end of tonight's proceedings on the show. Hope everyone's enjoyed this bumper edition of the Monday Night Show. My thanks to Guesty, Joe and Lee for joining me. Thanks for coming on, lads.
Thanks for having us, mate.
Brilliant. Thanks, boys. Keep it Boro Fan TV during the week, everybody. Latest transfer news and going on at your favourite club, and obviously all the England stuff that's happening as well. Until this time next week, or maybe sooner, we don't know yet. From us all at Boro Fan TV, good night and come on, England.
Come on, England.
Come on, England.